I'm on a mission to make fitness accessible to everyone. Started that mission at 17 in the middle of a global pandemic when everybody else's world had ended. Now that brings me back a little bit to 14, when my world had ended previously before. I didn't get on very well in school. I hated it. I hated education. I hated being told what to do. I hated feeling stupid. I wasn't a very clever kid. So when I got something wrong, I got frustrated easily. I decided to take a year out of school. And as you can imagine, for a 14-year-old with a year out of school, things went downhill. I developed social anxiety, I put on weight, I lost who I was as a person, and I felt my life was over. It was that simple. But I knew I needed to do something about that. I knew I needed to change something. And that change for me was a run. Now, I'd not been a very active child, and I don't know where the idea of running came from, but I knew that I wanted to run. And that first run was horrible. I don't know if anyone runs, but I still don't like it to this day. I remember I wore a pair of plimsolls and black jeans. Now, for any runners out there, that's not the most appropriate attire, and there was a lot of chafing. But I ran for 30 seconds and walked for 2 minutes. And I just remember wanting to give up every step of that way. But I didn't. And then I tried it again. I ran again and again and again, day in and day out, working on my health. Those positive endorphins flooded my body and made me feel better and more confident. So I thought, wow, if I can do this, I can do anything. I can do more. I can try different exercises. So I joined a gym, and I tried more and more stuff in that. And I managed to get myself back into school. And I even ended up competing in amateur boxing all around the UK. Now, when I was in school, I was still a little bit behind. I'd taken a year out, so I was still feeling a bit silly and stupid. But school was tough, so boxing helped sort of balance that out and gave me something to achieve. Now, school had ended, and I'd got my grades. And I always joke because I think they gave me the wrong person's exam results. I always say they gave me the smart kids' exam results because I ended up doing okay. And I was like shocked that I could go from that young boy out of school to doing well in exams and competing all around the UK, traveling in amateur boxing. Soon after, I ended up going into construction. It was the safe option. For my town, a trade is a very good thing. And it was. Construction was a very safe and good trade. But it just didn't feel right for me. That's when the pandemic hit. And as I said before, the world ended. But this time, I'd already experienced the end of my world, so I knew what to do. But I also wanted to help others because I knew they'd be in that same position I was previously. So what I did is I set up my company. I decided that I could use my knowledge and my experience to help more people like myself with nowhere to turn to, no one to talk to, but I knew that fitness was the answer to that. We started by working with a group of adults with additional needs. They saw a local newspaper clipping that stated, 17-year-old starts his own company, and they wanted to speak to me, which I was shocked at. Somebody wanted to bring me in to talk to them. That was my first ever talk. But I fell in love with that group of people. I knew that that group of people and others like them were who I was supposed to be working with. They were my mission. And from there, it developed. I remember the first time we'd done our in-person session, because we've been doing it via Zoom, it was on a park in early January. It was cold, and the BBC actually came to cover that session. So I was like, right, people are interested in what I'm doing. We're helping people. We're achieving so much. How can I help more? So I put my head to this. I was 18. I'd quit college actually, and I got a job in marketing at a fashion shop. So I was studying business and learning sort of the basics of business to aid me in my mission. And once I turned 18, I understood that there was a need for what I was offering, and there was a need. People needed to have these barriers broken down in the fitness industry. And I felt it was me who could do that. So I quit my job, 18 years old, that was it. I decided I was a quitter. I'm a bit of a serial quitter actually, because I quit school, and then I quit college, and then I quit my job. But I knew this was the right thing for me. Once that happened, I knew I needed to build up a team. I knew I couldn't do this by myself. So that's where we go on to we. When I was first starting out, I used to say we a lot. I'd meet with clients who I thought were better and bigger and people that were older and more experienced than me. And I'd say, well, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing these great things. And they go, Bailey, who's we? I sort of go, well, it's me now, but there's going to be a team. I'm going to find an ambitious group of people that have the same vision as me. And that's what I did. So over the last 2 years, we've been putting on sessions for adults with additional needs, children with behavioural issues, older people from strokes. We've been funded by some incredibly big companies to power through and break these barriers down. Now, what's different about us, what's different about me, is it's community first, fitness second. We use fitness as a tool it is to be able to engage with these hard-to-reach communities. So when we talk about a session for those with strokes, who have suffered from strokes, we made sure that we were talking, building up relationships, creating conversations, speaking and engaging with, not to, those people. We were understanding them so we could make sure the work we were doing was as suitable as possible. We'd sit down and we'd have a cup of tea, crack open some biscuits, which, yeah, I know that's not your typical fitness class, but what that did was break those barriers down and made it so much easier to work with them when doing some form of exercise and made that exercise much more fluent and fun. So we repeated this, like I said, in care homes, in schools, in community centres, all over my local area. I became 5 other people, all with the same mission, to break down the barriers of fitness. So if you can take anything from this today, relationships are important, community is important, and with the current crisis in the world and things growing as it is, fitness can be such a great reliever of stress, of everything. So if you're in a lonely gym and everyone's got their head down, because we've all been there, it's cold, there's weights, nobody really wants to speak to each other, I'd like you to try and speak to somebody else. I'd like you to build that relationship up, find somebody to go with and make it that little bit more fun, because fitness should be about joyful movement. Fitness should be about fun. So thank you.